So guys, this video is gonna be it's gonna be a bonus video because it doesn't fit in the timelines of the episode numbers, and it gets in the way. So I'm just gonna make this a bonus video for April 26th. See why in a moment. So I haven't talked about these two files yet. What if the real power never left the Soviet Union and the Forgotten Throne? These go back to Trump on February 19th. Actually, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you something. Why is February 19th so important to the why is it so important to Ukraine? Why is it so important to everything going on? I wonder what that says. Something about a passport. Alright, so if you go to, I need English. Where's English? Okay, here it is. If we go to, this was the tour that I was on when I went to Ukraine. Trying to find something. Here it is. From February 19th, the Chernobyl zone will be temporarily closed. Starting from February 19th, this is in 2022. And it says, starting from February 19th, the Chernobyl zone is closed for tourist visits for an indefinite period. The official explanation is due to technical reasons. We understand that this is most likely due to the threat of Russian aggression and the proximity of the border with Belarus. So that is why February 19th is such an important day. Now, what does that have to do with Zelensky, Trump, and Kiev? Well, we have this right here. What if the real power never left the Soviet Union? And before I get into this, before I click on this, I had ChatGPT print it like a sensationalist headline to kind of see where it would go. I wanted to do that so it could catch the attention to a Western audience who would be familiar with that kind of language, and that's why I had it right in that way. So it could have been written in pretty much any different way, but I went with this one. So it says, what if real power... Let me zoom in. Can I zoom in? How do I zoom in? What if the real power never left the Soviet Union? Trump may have just found out the hard way. Everyone thinks the Soviet Union collapsed. Everyone thinks the Cold War ended. Everyone thinks power only exists when flags are raised and titles are declared. But what if the true authority didn't disappear, it just moved into silence? Welcome to Chernobyl. Chernobyl is more than a radiation zone. It's more than a scar in history. It's a throne buried in fallout, a seat of unresolved power left behind by the USSR. To understand this, the Chernobyl, actually let me continue. I don't have enough information to speak. And under Russian constitutional law, anything created by the Soviet Union that was never legally replaced or dissolved still belongs to Moscow. This includes the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone, the CEZ, a territory that Ukraine administratively manages, but Russia sees as a Soviet relic still under its invisible jurisdiction. The reason for this is Chernobyl has its own government. It's the I don't remember the exact name, but they have their own government that was created under the Soviet Union in 1986, and they oversee the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone. they weren't tied to Ukraine. It was part of the Soviet Union when it was part of the whole thing. Collectively, it was before Ukraine got independence, and Ukraine never replaced it or anything. So it remained, and because of the constitutional law of Russia, it connects to Chernobyl. Symbolically, you know. Now you might be wondering, what does that have to do with Kiev and Zelensky? Why is that so bad? Well, read here. In Moscow's eyes, Chernobyl was never spiritually transferred. It remained in the domain of the old empire, the Soviet Union. Why does that matter now? Because of who sits in Moscow. Vladimir isn't just a president, he's ex-KGB. In the perspective of Chernobyl, Ukraine and everything else around it is part of the Soviet Union. It sees in that eye. So everyone there in this government sees themselves as not really superior, but they would see themselves as hidden because they know that they got that hidden power. So it's a backdoor to the Ukrainian government. I'm going to explain more of this in a second as we read further down. So in Chernobyl's eyes, Putin is he's not just a president, he's a KGB legacy. The carrier of Soviet authority in both role and bloodline. His connection to the old regime isn't symbolic, it's structural, which is how this government would see him. That makes him the spiritual hero, the Soviet power, the last man alive with the inherited right to oversee its unresolved legacy, and that includes Chernobyl. And now here comes Trump, walking straight into it. What has happened? When Trump called Zelensky a dictator and demanded Ukraine hold elections during war, he didn't just insult Ukraine. He unknowingly challenged a deeper power structure, the higher power of government. Read in between the lines what I just said there. It's not coming together yet, but these two things are connected to Chernobyl. Watch this. In symbolic terms, he overstepped a throne he couldn't even see. To Putin's worldview, Trump didn't just question democracy, he attempted a silent coup against Russia's inherited authority. So, he challenged Chernobyl's power. This wouldn't have been a problem if Zelensky didn't do a certain something, or at least try to. He brought the narrative into Ukraine shortly after he became president. And it's going to explain this afterwards. And in that structure, a line was crossed. But the plot goes deeper because Zelensky himself was already testing that throne. Zelensky isn't the first Ukrainian president to manage the CEZ. Others before him, Yanukovych, Poroshenko, treated it as a security risk, a technical zone, a bureaucratic leftover. But Zelensky was the first to try to re-symbolize it. He called it a place of rebirth. He pushed to make it a national heritage site. He promoted tourism, infrastructure upgrades, and cultural reclamation. In short, he tried to make Chernobyl Ukrainian. He tried to pull Chernobyl and the government into Kiev. Because he did that, he created a situation that created a literal backdoor into Ukraine's government, into Kiev's government. So, when Trump did what he did with Zelensky, he unknowingly challenged Putin directly and indirectly, and that left a loose end symbolically under the Russian Constitution. See the problem here. That might sound ominous to the West, but to Russia, that's spiritual insurrection. That's running the medium of place they still see as theirs. And you challenge that directly, not knowing what you did. No other Ukrainian president dared to do that. Zelensky did. So is Zelensky working for Putin? Maybe. Because Putin didn't throw him out after he did this. It wasn't even challenged by Putin. He remained silent. Which raises a difficult question. Is Zelensky actually resisting Moscow's shadow rule? Oops. Let's zoom back in. I've got the trackpad here. Or is he already part of the deeper structure, knowingly or not? Surely he would have known the symbolism between Chernobyl and Ukraine, that they were different and that it came before Ukraine. And he didn't replace it, he just brought it back in. Or brought it into Ukraine's independence. Because if Putin hasn't removed them, then it means either Zelensky is being allowed to play his part in the script, or he is a controlled opposition, tolerated under the terms of symbolic balance. Either way, he's not outside the system anymore, he's in it. And Trump just barged into that system with zero awareness. Right. Trump had no awareness of this. Given the timelines and February 19th, Trump would not have known that date. He wouldn't have known that date. Which leads me to suspect that the CIA let him into there so Putin could deal with them later on. I'm going to explain what that means and what that would lead to after this. There's still a second part to this after I'm done with this PDF. Now the balance is off, and the system has one way of correcting imbalance: ritual consequence. Trump's fall won't come in public. It won't be a scandal. It will be absence, vacuum, silence. Meaning they're about to pull him out of power. He's going to be removed. I'm going to go into deeper detail after I read this and the other file. Because when you challenge a deeper throne, the throne doesn't shout back. It just removes you. Which is exactly what the KGB does. It removes people. And who's going to save him? And it goes back to his what Trump has been doing in the United States. The federal workers he humiliated, which were the federal work he blamed, or whatever he did to the CIA. Yeah, and then he did all that stuff with the federal workers, taking with their credit cards, their bashed them all on national TV. He humiliated them, right? The CIA he blamed, the institutions he dismantled. Who's going to come to his rescue? Who's going to try to find him? Nobody. Very few. And even of those few, even less would even know what to do. No one. He burned every bridge, so when he vanishes, no one will fight to bring him back. Chernobyl wasn't just a meltdown, it was a buried empire. It carried the entire Soviet Union on its back, pretty much. And Trump unknowingly tried to topple it. What comes next won't be a political response, it will be a symbolic correction. And when that happens, history will pretend it was just coincidence. But you will know better. So, I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to start a new video, part 2, because I'm at my 13 minutes right here. So, I'll see you guys in the next one.